Rowena Dooley asking Sol citizens to report for duty.
I've been staring at the moon. Take me higher, waiting for your call.
This is Rowena Dooley asking Sol citizens to report for duty.
And greetings, welcome back to the Soul Citizens. I'm Griffin Gaming RPG, and we're back for another great discussion about Soul Citizens. Why do I keep saying that? It's the second week I said we're going to talk about Soul Citizens.
Tisk, man.
I guess that's what we're doing.
Greetings, welcome. I'm Griffin Gaming. We're here to talk about Star Citizen. We're happy to have you guys here with us today. Thank you guys so much for spending another Sunday evening with us in the middle of September. And man, we got so much cool stuff to talk about. But before we get to the cool stuff, I want to introduce some cool people. Got a great panel of guests here. Some are familiar. And we have a new face, not a familiar voice, but a new face. So we're going to start out on the far, my right. Start out with Fist to Face himself. How are you, Fist?
Yeah, everybody. How are you out there?
Doing okay. What is that background? Is a cityscape? What is that?
Who, for Pops or me?
No, you.
Me?
Yeah.
In my background? That's my room.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, that's why when you get old, Pops, you can't see nothing. You know what I mean? I thought that was like two billboards with a sunset behind it. That's what I thought. Okay, I thought he had like a really cool background going on. Okay, dang. Okay, time to go to the eye doctor. All right, Cal Roddy, the young guy in the room. What's going on, Cal Roddy? How are you, man?
It is good to be here among you beautiful people.
Yeah, hey, that's a cool shirt you got on, man. Where'd you get that shirt, brother?
Yeah, that's a good question. Where did I get this shirt? I got it from the Soul Citizen store. Check it out. Join the Discord. We have all these things available. Merchandise, cups, mugs, many things.
Oh boy, you got everything. I need to pull mine out.
Good quality too.
Let me find my stuff. Okay. Good to see you, man. And last but not least, the man himself holding us down on the far end there, Pops in Space. How are you, Pops?
Okay, I don't know about holding it down, but all right.
You holding it
I
down?
might fall down.
You holding it down with that? What is that? Idris in the background, or what is that? Idris?
It's a YouTube clip with a whole bunch of mining stuff.
Oh! You in the mining mode? Okay, you got a mine for mining. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So. I wonder what made you think of that today, since that's what we're gonna be talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm happy to have all these guys on here tonight with me because they all have a passion and an understanding of mining and Star Citizen. We're going to be sharing some things with you. This is our career series that we've been doing for, this is our second year doing this stuff. Talking about the different careers that CIG has outlined and told us about. A lot of the information and stuff that's out there. You know, one of the things about mining out, with the panel, mining is probably one of the oldest careers in this game as far as information goes. Tracking all the way back to, I want to say that the Orion was actually the first aspect of it before they even got into like the prospector and the mole. Those ideas came later. but mining or asteroid belt mining was definitely what we saw when we first came in. I don't even think I remember them talking about planetary mining in the beginning. I don't remember that because you don't, Cal Roddy, because everything was kind of built around the Orion, right, back then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're going to talk about mining, but we're going to expand that because, as you guys know, mining is also probably the most I don't want to say worked on, but it probably is the largest of the different careers. It has more stuff in it than anything else, more than mercenary or bounties or whatever. There's a whole spectrum now with mining, and the whole mining loop has developed now beyond just mining, but now we're being introduced to refining and transport. So we're kind of packaging all that into this. That's why we call the show Mining and Refining. We're going to be trying to cover all those bases. So Fist, let me ask you a question. I know this is you guys, you told me before, this is you all's very first space MMO or space type, focused game, right? Is that correct? Did I hear that right? So did you ever do mining in any other genres of games, any other stuff that mining was a factor in? I mean, whatever it may have been, other than Minecraft?
Well, I've never got into that game.
I'm just
never
teasing.
played it.
I'm just
I get
teasing.
you. No, I get you. But I don't remember, Pops. I don't think I ever recalled us ever doing any mining in any other games other than, it's like smacking rocks or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's about it. Yeah. And Pops, I know mining's been something you've been talking about for a while. What is it about mining that kind of drew your interest, to get to think about actually backing and getting a mining ship? Because you guys got a couple mining ships, right?
We have the one big one.
The Orion. Okay, you got the Orion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Besides the loners.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What made you think about mining?
Money, making money.
Okay. The way to bring in the credits, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Cal Roddy, what about you? What aspect of mining interests you? Are you the solo miner, the mole miner, or the everything miner? What are you thinking about?
So originally I was more of a solo miner. I started off doing the very, very basic version of what it meant to mine in Microsoft Freelancer by shooting the rock, and just a small sample just came up and you just kind of track the beam into your ship. That was all there was to mining back in 2004. And I jumped over EVE Online and I was mining using the Venture. That was pretty fun. And what kind of drew me to it a lot more was the risk. I never liked mining in safe space. And also, the things that I really look forward to in mining in Star Citizen is not necessarily only the multi-crew aspect, like, working in the Orion or any of the large mining ship, but also working with others, to mine an asteroid and jettison my cargo and have them take that cargo and go somewhere else. So I'm continuing the job while I'm working with others, either in a solo ship and in multi-crew too, but predominantly I want that risk while mining. So
like you, I was in EVE. That was where I got introduced into that level of mining, and I loved doing it. I used to, like many people, do my own solo operation, run multiple characters. One is doing the mining and cutting in lasers, and the other one is hauling things back and forth. I was in an org that was a mining org that did when we were able to get together, we did have those people that were doing security, those people that were picking up those canisters. You remember the canisters from EVE, right? Picking up the canisters and delivering and doing all that stuff. But unfortunately, it was a pretty shallow career. You spent a lot of money to get a mining ship. You basically just found an asteroid, pointed it at it, and you just let it run. You didn't do anything, right? I mean, you did nothing. You just waited for that asteroid to finally run out of resource, or like I used to do a lot of ice mining. But you would do that, and then you just move on to the next thing. That was it.
And that's partly why I kind of liked the risk, because outside of just point and click, that was all there is to it. So I kind of wanted someone to kind of entertain me a little bit, Well, either NPC or a player.
You know what I will say? You at least in that game, you could keep your eyes open for somebody that might have been coming. I'm really curious to see how well we can do that in this game now, because this game has your focus on doing so much. So active, you don't have time. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously you can get a warning from a missile lock or something like that. But if you don't happen to look down at your radar and see somebody is come, within proximity of you, you know, there's a lot of hazards that can happen, even worse than Eve, as far as I'm concerned, in this game, because there's too much stuff to draw your attention. But we'll get to that. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
We will.
All right. Pops, I want to go back to something you said earlier, which is about the money. Show me the money. So let's take a quick look at a video here. By the way, hi to everybody again. Let's take a quick look at a video about making money with mining, rather, with asteroids and stuff. Let's take a look.
When it comes to precious metals, humans can get a little insane. I mean, even the terminology gets a little creepy. Show a human a pretty reflective surface and suddenly we're all, my precious. But despite its high profile, gold's not really that precious a metal. For that, we need to look at the platinum group metals like rhodium. That's a much higher bidding price. And platinum group metals can be found in everything from catalytic converters to jewelry. And while they're mega rare here on Earth, in other parts of the solar system, it's a different story. There are some scientists who believe that an asteroid only 150 feet wide could contain up to $130 billion worth of platinum group metals, and another $65 billion in water. And where there's precious metal in the ground, you can bet there's gonna be a mining operation right behind. And this could be the future of space exploration. Think about it. Asteroids could have massive amounts of ice on them, and ice, of course, is water. And that's not just good for astronauts who are a little thirsty. Water contains the building blocks for rocket fuel. Asteroids might have nickel and iron as well, which we have plenty of here on Earth. But in space, we could use it to make space colonies or new vehicles. Now, when it comes down to the core business model of asteroid mining, there's still a pretty big question mark. No one's really sure how much wealth is actually out there. Back in the 90s, one estimate said that there could be about $100 billion for every single person on Earth. Now, when you're talking about numbers that big, does the word precious really have any meaning?
So, Pops, I want to know, does $100 billion sound good to you, or does that just, you ain't worried about it?
Well, one thing, he's right, because if everybody has $1 million is worth nothing.
So you need 100 billion, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, it is interesting that there is this whole aspect of being able to get these resources from space, and there's a whole argument about the financial. And this is actually probably even the game will be impacted by this. There's one video that I looked at and researched that talked about how it's cheaper to mine in space than to mine on the planet. And they're referring to Earth, right? Because what they're saying is that the cost factor of what it takes to get those materials into space can make it almost unprofitable, right? I think they said like a 1 pound comes out to $2,000, right? But if you're mining in space, you don't have to do all that. Admiral Kusanagi, thank you, Admiral Kusanagi, for that. We appreciate that. We really do. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for the subscription.
All right. So, CIG has talked about the fact that our ships will actually start to have impact based upon gross weight, things of that nature, atmosphere. And it'll be interesting to see if you load up that really big ship and Pops in space. Thank you too, Pops. If you load up that ship on a planet, whether or not your fuel expenses and everything else with weight is going to make it worth it, or whether you should just say, forget that, I'll mine up here. We'll see. That's just a thought, but I'm just curious. Let me ask you guys a question. Did you guys see the periodic table pop up in that video?
Yeah.
With all the different stuff? Okay. What are your feelings about the way, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but what are your feelings about the resources that we see listed? Right now, everybody just kind of goes for the big Q, right? Quantanium. But what are your feelings about, what do you think the future will be when it comes to those commodities? Will they become more valuable? Will corundrum be the hot thing? or no? Let me start out with Fist. You can tell me what you think.
I look at it like this. It depends. Like somebody explained it to me back in when I first came into the game, that when the game, obviously gets to that point and stage where we have, multiple systems in, and we can say we're out of alpha. They explained to me that, like you said, corundum may become valuable in certain systems because that system may need it for, maybe let's say base building or whatever. Right, exactly. I mean, whatever it is, materials that you may need to
Hey, thanks for the
guns
subscription.
or that's not there. Supply and demand, basic, economics and things and systems. So that's how I kind of look at it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Calrati, what about you? What do you think about copper, gold, diamond, stuff that some folks, I mean, some people do pick that stuff up and move it around.
Yeah.
But what are your feelings about it in the game?
So originally, and even now, mining usually has some kind of value. That value only comes up to a certain point. That's when it comes to generating alpha UEC, right? But where these minerals and these materials can really have their value is where crafting and those things and more avenues to utilize these materials will come in, especially for base building. Even now, we're seeing the first version of crafting by you're salvaging the material and you're kind of crafting and utilizing that resource. So imagine and I mean who knows, soon enough we may not need to only imagine it, but you mine these on the surface worthless materials, but they are very, very useful for something that that is a lot more usable in a refined state or in a manufactured state, other than in their raw state like quantanium, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's where the additional value outside of just alpha UEC will come in, especially when it comes to seeing more that these materials and these mined ore have the potential of them outside of just selling them and making alpha UEC.
Yeah. Pops, let me ask you, do you think there's a possibility, because CIG has told us about the hull stripping, right? What they didn't tell us is what is that stuff, right? They just told us we'll be able to strip a ship. What if CIG, if we find out when we hull strip that stuff that goes into your ship happens to be aluminum, what do you think is going to happen in the game?
Man, oh my goodness. Yeah, we already talked about people missing wings and tails and everything else.
Right. So do you think aluminum all of a sudden will become instead of quantanium? I mean, do you think people might start mining aluminum a lot more?
All you just hang around the space station. And you're rich. You don't have to go anywhere.
Not to go nowhere, right? Not to go nowhere, right? Yeah. I'm curious as to what the material will be, because they have talked about stripping. And if you remember when they talked about not only stripping, they talked about in combat, when you pull that off that ship, you can use that same material to fix your own ship. So I'm curious as to which of the resources that we have out there right now, maybe Corundrum is that material, right? I mean, we don't know what it's going to be, but I guarantee you, if that material ends up being something that's in the game, all of a sudden you're going to see people drifting and start buying, making that stuff now, right? And getting their ships repaired with it. So it's something for us to consider. Okay, let's go ahead and go ahead.
If I can just say one more thing, especially if when we get to that point and we have to have our ships, like our ship explode and we have to wait, because that is probably the material that's used to rebuild our ship. So that's going to be an extremely hot commodity.
We just don't know. CIG has not said what is that stuff that comes off our ship, but I guarantee my gut feeling is they're going to say it's blah blah. Or to Calrati's point, Calrati, you talked about the fact that it might even be something that we refine and create. You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe now if you mix copper and corundum and aluminum, you get whatever that material is that's on ships, right?
Exactly.
Which will now bring value and now give reason for people to go out and not just mess with quantanium, but maybe some other stuff too. So we'll have to see. All right, we're going to go ahead and kick this off, guys. Now, what we're going to do is with you guys today is progress through this. Now, there aren't a lot of visuals for this. There's a lot of reading because as I mentioned, this is one of the more thorough careers in the game. So we're going to be doing a lot of reading, but we are going to put it on the screen for you. Admiral Kusanagi's here, Fast Cards here. We're going to be dropping links in. So for those of you who are interested in mining and have never done it before, we're going to give you a real education today. If you're already doing mining and you already know some tips and stuff, feel free to put that in the chat for everybody because we will greatly appreciate it as well. So Fist, why don't you kick us off a little bit? Let's talk about what mining is first off. Okay, let's hit that first.
Right. Okay. Mining is the extraction of minerals or other minerals that are found on various planets, moons, and asteroids to be sold for profit. Mining is done primarily with shift-mounted mining equipment or with handheld mining tools, and could be done in open space on a planet moon, or underground. Minerals that can be obtained through mining include both productive and exotic materials such as agresium, corundum, diamond, gold, and titanium. Mining was introduced in Star Citizen Alpha 3.2 alongside with the first mining vessel, the Prospector.
Okay. That's a throwback. I don't know. You guys weren't around back then. Were you, Fist? 3.2?
Did we? You know what? I think, Pops, I want to say we came in about maybe 3.4.
Okay. All right. Not bad. Calrati was around back then with this. Okay.
I remember when mining and you're saying, okay, it's going good so far, and all of a sudden it just goes into overcharge because we didn't have object container streaming back then, so the performance was just horrible. I remember that.
That's the part you remember. Okay. So great definition. Thank you, Fist. Mining is the extraction of minerals and other materials that are found basically everywhere in the universe. And the idea of it is to obviously, even though they say to be sold for profit, but there is the aspect of some other things that you can do if you're interested in the mining career. Like I said, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later when it comes to refining. I am curious to see about these other materials, because if you guys notice, there are a lot of materials in this game. And again, everybody seems to be defaulting to Quantanium. I saw somebody in chat mention, because we had it in the video, they talked about water. And you don't really hear anything about water right now. But as I mentioned to Calrati earlier in Eve, one of the big things that you were to do in there was to mine ice. That was huge to do in that game. And so it'll be interesting to see, because water is used to create many materials. And you can also see how water could be important just in the sense of base building, a whole bunch of other stuff, right? We could end up using that for.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see about, whether or not water becomes a factor. I'm hoping that we do have some, asteroid mining where you're out there and drilling down deep and getting ice out. That would be amazing to me. I actually tried to get some footage from Armageddon, but it's too much work to do that today. Anyway.
I understand.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the next subject here, because these are the different type of mining types, and Fist already kind of led us into this. I'll read some of these. Surface mining. Surface mining is the extraction of any materials from the surface of a planet, moon, or asteroid. Surface mining is the most common type of mining done within the universe, for which this is where most minerals lie. Now that's interesting that they say that. They say that most minerals lie in surface mining. Okay. This technique relies on the use of the ship's mining head for the prospect, fracture, and extraction of a mineral deposit. Now it's interesting about this because some of you all may remember back in the day, before we got Quantanium, I think everybody assumed that Quantanium was a gas. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that people thought it was a gas because the idea of the Starfarer going out and it being a refueler, people thought that they'd go into some type of cloud, it would process it, and then it would make Quantanium. And so people bought Starfarers like, oh yeah, I'm going to be able to sell hydrogen and sell Quantanium. And then CIG said, no, Quantanium's a rock. And remember that, Calrati?
Shocker.
It freaked people out, right? People were like, what do you mean it's a rock? I wasn't expecting it to be a rock either, to be honest with you. So that whole thing came in and we found out that Quantanium was something completely different. Then Calrati, tell me if you remember this. Do you remember at one point people were saying that the prospector would only be able to mine on planets, and that if you want to go to an asteroid belt, it had to be something like the Orion or the Mole? Do you remember hearing that at all?
Yeah, I heard those things from time to time, not on a constant level, but I heard some rumors and some back and forths with regards to that.
Yeah.
And it was, I guess, because of the kind of early-ish days when the prospector came out, they were still kind of, okay, should we kind of set this in stone? Should we say, okay, what the kind of design goal for these ships will be, and then eventually things are kind of settled down.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So that's surface mining. I'm going to read you guys about what we call subsurface mining. Is the extraction of any materials from underground caves and caverns. Harvestable materials are often the only minerals found while subsurface mining. This technique is often called FPS mining or hand mining, and is a mining technique that does not require the use of any dedicated mining ship. FPS mining is currently only available by using the Pyro-Rite multi-tool with an ore bit mining attachment, and often accompanied by MaxFlex rucksack core. Okay. Back in the day, we used to do mining with this out on surfaces of planets, and I just happened to notice that doesn't happen now. I didn't know that because I hadn't done hand mining in forever. But am I wrong, you guys, on that one? That you only can use a rock now or a ship on the surface? Because that's what I was told. Somebody told me you can only do hand mining in the caves now. Is that right,
Really?
chat? Yes, sir. Because I tried to go out there and use it on one of them rocks, and that pyrite, I almost burned that sucker out trying to crack a rock. It didn't move that needle an inch, Jack. And I mean, I went to a bunch of them little rocks.
Yeah, I remember.
Captain Jones says yes. Captain Jones says yes. I'm telling you, I went out with my prospector one day. I saw, I go up here and use my. Didn't happen.
I do wonder about should that be true, what their whole intention is with regards to making that only cave based, or some kind of POI is it to actually, if they have some kind of plans in the future to make, all right. Because I know at a point, I think it was between, was it 3.14? Between 3.14 and 3.16, it was super difficult to actually find surface minables. And but it was, any cave mission that you did, you'll still be able to do FPS mining. So with regards to their forecast or their kind of plan in the future, is this some kind of are they tailoring this for some kind of future goal? Yeah.
Let me ask Architect a question. Architect, I see what you're saying. I fly out there all the time and I see that indicator, that that little diamond that says it's a mineable like it used to. But I'm telling you, I got out at that sucker and the multi-tool does not work on it. So my question is, I know you say you see them, but are you telling me that you've also gone out there with the multi-tool and actually hit that rock and got it? I saw somebody earlier, it wasn't Captain Jones, it was Carthulian, said that you can sometimes run across them. He said, but it's very, very rare. So yeah, I haven't. It was like a fluke, like about a month or two. I hadn't been hand mining in forever, and I tried to do it, and it just did not work, man. Those icons are for the rock, Captain Jones says. Okay. Yeah, I tried. That was something they changed. I don't know when they announced that they were changing that, because I don't remember the announcement, but it don't work like that no more. Okay. Hand mining, at least very good training for vehicle mining. Okay. Yes, that's very true. Yeah, because you blow yourself up plenty of times when you're hand mining. You're absolutely right about that. Okay, Calradi, let's go on. Let's talk about the different pieces of mining equipment, because there's a whole bunch of stuff now in the game.
Yeah, all right. Mining equipment. Starting off with the Pyro RIT multi-tool. Greycat Pyro RIT multi-tool, or simply personal multi-tool, is a personal item that is equipped with the capabilities of a small-scale version of a workshop's repair arm.
Yeah.
The orbit mining tool, the orbit mining attachment enhances the Pyro RIT multi-tool by allowing mining capabilities such as scanning and fracturing.
Okay.
Now,
Pops,
modules.
Go ahead. Oh, let me stop there. Stop right there for now. Pops, have you ever done hand mining, FPS mining?
That was the first thing we did.
Oh, really?
Because we watched a video that, because we didn't know how to make money, and that was what the video said. It said, get you a rucksack, get you a hand tool, and we went out and we went in that cave, and I'm not doing that again. Well,
can I make a note real quick though to say something? Whoever, when we first came in and we went down in that cave and blew up our ship when we first came in the game, if I find out who you are,
he's gonna get you.
You remember that?
Thanks for the follow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I was mad.
Yeah.
I was mad.
Okay.
I was like, wow, welcome to Star Citizen.
Oh my God. Yeah. welcome. Glad to have you here. By the way, thank you, Nubifire, for the sub, and Face Kitten, thank you for the follow as well. Yeah, it's funny. Cave mining, Pops, for a lot of people is a frustrating thing. It never bothered me for some weird reason. Like, even when I go to prison, I can mine and I just do it and I get out of there. It didn't bother me that much. But I know a lot of people get frustrated because, you got to go deep to find what you want. Then you get down there and you get lost and you try to figure out how to get out and everything. It's not a pleasant experience for some people. I have not tried doing it in the new caves. I haven't. It's been a long time. I used to go on Daymar all the time and go to
I'm going to take a page from Gigi. It's spooky.
It is, yeah.
It was spooky.
Yeah, it is. It is
first
spooky.
time in there.
I'll give you that. It is spooky. Okay. Here's something else too. Did you guys know that you can use, well, I don't know if you can now, so chat, y'all might have to help. You can use this thing on asteroids. Did y'all know that there were hand minables on asteroids?
Yeah, the little zits on those asteroids.
You know what? I haven't been asteroid mining in so long.
Yeah,
so
they're little. You can get out of your ship And there's little things like Cal Roddy said, they're out there. You got to look for them, but you can mine off of it. And mind you, it's pretty dangerous, but you can do it, if you want to get out your ship. But people have been known to do it, to go out there on the big rocks and do that. You've done it, Cal Roddy? You've done it with the small ones?
I have.
Okay.
It's interesting. It's an interesting addition that you don't always see them, but once you're careful, once you actually scan the rock and everything, you're able to actually detect it. It's a pretty cool and kind of goofy addition to it.
Yeah, and you also see how big the asteroid is when you go out there,
Mm-hmm.
too, which is another factor. Okay, all right, let's continue on there. Cal Roddy, what you got?
Sorry, a certain FC was.
Oh,
anyway.
Is FC harassing you? All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. There we go.
Anyway, right.
Tell them to get out your DM.
All right, so modules. A mining module is a mining laser subcomponent that is installed on a mining laser head. Modules were implemented on April 22nd, 2021 and replaced mining consumables. Mining modules are grouped in passive and active modules and can increase the efficiency of a mining laser.
Okay, we can talk about that one first. You guys use mining modules at all, or do you all just go hardcore Helix 2s and blow yourselves up all the time? What do you do?
We have used mining modules, so because we wanted to make sure we were familiar with it, to understand the mechanics of it, and I actually think they're a very good addition to mining. As far as like when you look at the prospector coming across a massive quantanium rock and you can't break it, that module comes in handy. Yeah. So
I hate to say it, I'm lazy on the passive ones. I've used the active ones, the ones you kick in, to get 3 or 5 uses out of. Those I've used, but the passive ones I haven't monkeyed around with them enough, and I know a lot of people use those too. Cal Roddy, what about you? You ever monkeyed around with the modules?
Yeah, I tend to use the active ones a lot more. Like if, for example, I'm using like a Lancet or something, I would actually use like 2 active modules, like a Surge or Stampede, and then I'll use like a passive module. But yeah, I tend to still favor the active modules a lot more over the passive modules.
Okay. Admiral Kusanagi says he only uses the passive modules. Pops,
interesting.
Yeah, Pops, have you monkeyed around with the modules?
Yeah, we did. We used them. We experimented with them when they first came out.
See what the different ones do.
Yeah, want to understand them. Yeah.
Okay.
They make it a lot. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, I one of the things though that kind of was surprising though to learn that if your ship blows up, they're gone.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. Well, now I know.
Hence the word consumable, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. What about the gadgets there, Cal Roddy?
Okay, mining gadgets. Excuse me, I'm a little hungry here. A mining gadget is a handheld device which can be placed on a mineable rock to modify its fate, such as resistance and instability, allowing prospectors to make the mining process easier and safer or quicker and riskier.
Yeah. Now this is the most recent thing, if I'm not mistaken, right? That they've added to the game. Basically, you've got this gadget, you throw it on your back, whatever you exit your ship. Different ones have different capabilities. A lot of times people like to use it because it either creates greater stability or it lowers the resistance on a rock. But you go out there, you put it on there, you EVA back to your ship, you cut your rock, and once you've done, the cool thing about it is that you can get that item back and use it again. For the most part, you can go out there and find it. You just got to go out there and look for it, but you can go out there and find the gadget. I have not done this yet. I've seen videos, and I know people have done it, and because
it's awesome though.
Yeah, and everybody who's done that says that it's great. Pops, did you? Go ahead, Cal Roddy. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm gonna say except for if you're mining on the surface and it's on a slope, and that rock breaks and your gadget just slides down in between a rock and you can't get it back. That's happened to me.
Okay, that's the safety tip of the day, y'all. Be careful where you put it on the
not on the slope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Pops, did you monkey around with the gadgets yet?
No, I didn't get a chance to monkey.
Yes, you did.
No, I did not.
Yes, we did.
We did? When?
Yes. We went out there.
Y'all went, who stuck it on the asteroid?
It must have been
You know what?
It
It was me. Because
Oh,
I was,
okay.
he was like, yeah, you go out there and go put it on.
Oh, okay. See, that's why. That's what he's there for.
That's your argument.
okay.
Huh? You do it. No,
Yeah.
you do it. No, I'm not going out there. You go out there. Okay, that's your all thing. All right.
Yeah,
That'll
right.
work. That'll work. Hey, what's
Yeah.
up, Ship Pasta? Good to see you. All right. Kimmy says he tried 4 unique gadgets, but he didn't see any advantages to them. Okay. He didn't see the advantage. That's
I
interesting.
did notice something like that also, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kimmy, but if you use the same mining gadget, well, 2 of the same mining gadgets, I tried using that and I didn't for the second one. I couldn't increase the efficiency after I got to like 91% efficiency for the first gadget. The same gadget that I attached, the second one, I couldn't actually increase the efficiency at all. So I don't know if there's a limit with regards to that, like a rule set or something, that if you use like 2 of the same gadgets and it just doesn't pan out.
Cut out each other or something. Yeah. Nullify each other. That could be. Now, by the way, let's talk about pricing on these too. When you're using active modules, those are the cheaper, the least expensive of things to use, but you only get so many uses. I think 5 uses out of them. The actives cost you more money, a lot more money. And so, as you mentioned earlier, the one frustration is that if you lose your ship or you lose them, they're gone. I think somebody in chat said they stopped using the passes because once they lost like 80,000 worth in passes. That's your load almost coming in from a run.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then the mining gadgets, those also, they're not expensive, but they cost a little bit, but they're also multiple use and you can use them over and over again. So just kind of be aware that's kind of the tier of if you're buying these, be prepared that you got to drop a little money in to make your job a little easier in the game. Okay, what do we after that? We're going to continue on there, Cal Roddy.
Right, the M3A drone. The M3A multifunction space drone made by Saga Data Systems is an upcoming drone capable of performing various tasks such as repairing, refueling, mining, and salvage.
Let's take a look at that real quick. Now, we're showing you these. I told you there were a few things that we will show you images of, mostly because they're not in the game, and a lot of people don't know what these things look like. If you want to find information, we've got the link in there for you guys to be able to see these. These are not renderings from somebody else. These are CIG renderings of this particular drone. There's actually 2 of them, and we're going to show you the second one in a second. But this is one of the drones that does multi-functions, as Cal Roddy said. It'll be interesting to see what these run, what these cost. You know what I mean? Fist, have you thought about the factoring these in? I mean, are you more tendency to have drone operators to do work, or do you think you want to just deal with having human players? And I guess I'm trying to figure out let me rephrase the question to anybody on the panel. What is the purpose of using a drone? And there is one, but I'm just curious as to what you guys see using a drone is good for. Okay, Roddy.
I think I got one.
Yeah.
Danger. Like, for example, we've heard about pyro and how they're talking about the flares and the solar dangers and those things. So that's one thing that I can think about, kind of avoiding any kind of radiation if if it's a valuable material, and there will be valuable materials in dangerous locations. So that's one thing I can see when it comes to using a drone.
Okay. Difficult situations. Maybe if you're in a big asteroid belt, right? And you got your big old Orion out there, but it's just dense. You know what I mean? And you've done a scan and there's some high value rock out there. You can send your drone, right? You can go ahead and control and go out that way and break it up and get whatever you need off the material for it. As you mentioned,
I am curious to find out what exactly is there. They said multiple functions to them. I'm curious on what they are giving them. These
are going to be similar to what the Vulcan have, where it does repair, refuel, mining. The one we're going to look at after this does multiple things too. The second one's like a maintenance drone, but versus making specific drones just for one thing. You know what I mean? That's a good way for them to save on resources too, if you know what I mean. Yeah, but let's take a look at the second one. Go ahead and read that. The other one, there is no description for this one, but it's called, what's it called there? The maintenance mining drone. It's actually called ambient maintenance mining drone, and that's that one there. This is another one that you'll see on the website that's been changed a little bit. It's kind of got that like weird what's that thing called in Star Wars? The black drone.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
hey.
Yeah. Hey, yo, Meg. Meg, what's up, Meg? One of our Soul Team members. Thank you, Meg, sending your folks over. Thank you. Hope you had a great stream. I saw you earlier streaming out there. You're doing Star Citizen tonight. Welcome, folks, from Yo Meg. We appreciate you guys being here. Yeah, that's a weird looking drone. I don't know, which one do you guys like better?
You know
that one kind of has like a military feel to me. You know, this one kind of has more of a civilian feel to me. You know, that looks like something NASA would do. This like something like Northrop would make. I don't know. Yeah, what do you guys think? I don't know.
To me, I don't care what it looks like, long as it do what it need to do.
Okay.
When it comes to that.
Okay.
You know, if it generates me the ducats that I need, the UEE, whatever you want to call it, hey, it gets the job done.
Yeah. And
that's how I look at it.
Yeah, we want you guys to know too, there are multiple drones too. There are drones that are going to be used for diffusing mines. These are all concept drawings here. We don't know if this is what they're going to finally look like. So I do want to emphasize that, because these go all the way back to when the Orion came out. These have been around a long time for drones. Okay. So we don't know what CIG will ultimately come up with, but these in particular that they did present, they say these do have capability of doing some type of mining. Let's read that last one there, Cal Roddy, that we got. We got one more to talk about.
Yeah, sure thing. So
I didn't put it in
the Cygnus, the Great Cat Industrial Cygnus is a super spider, is a spider-shaped industrial mining vehicle. In an early preview, it was called a mining drone. However, the Cygnus can support 2 crew members and has a cockpit. Given its uncertain autonomy, it is likely to require crew, but may be capable of limited automated operation.
Okay, let's take a look at a video on that.
Mining drones in the background, they fly around and they just go and harvest. But then initially they started off pretty small, you know, like the size of a transit van, but now they're like absolutely huge.
We kind of, the initial sort of brief was these sort of deep sea mining rigs, that go down and you can fix things. But they've grown and grown since then.
Then we came back. Was it got to stick a cab on it? Yeah. So a fully working cab, so you could get into it and fly around. Yeah,
potentially in the persistent universe, people could take these rigs and if they had a big enough setup and go out and mine for themselves. So there'd be a cost involved, obviously, because these things are huge.
Okay. You guys can see this thing is gigantic. And they say that there's a cost involved with these as well. I'm curious. I mean, this thing's flying, right? I mean, it's not being transported. It's a pretty big freaking thing.
Can it quantum jump, I wonder?
That's what I'm wondering, is like moving these things around.
Exactly.
Is this something that you got to slap onto your freaking Liberator or something? I don't know. It's
just hook onto it.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this too. Now, Pops and Fish, just so you guys will know, there's a sign here that tells you how old this is. First of all, that suit that guy's wearing goes way back. That's the first thing. Second thing is that this is on Wingman's hangar. That little logo you see on the bottom right is the very first show that CIG produced. So that lets you know how far back this goes. We're talking like 13 maybe, Cal Roddy? 14?
2013, 2014.
So this goes back.
14, yeah.
Now, we have not heard squat about this thing since then, all right?
We did see a very brief prop when they did the first Squadron 42 vertical slice. It was like a few of them, and they were just like, okay, that was it. Very subtle.
It's still an idea that could possibly happen, but you can see the scale of this thing to the person on the screen, as well as the ship that they put it next to. Is this something you guys would be interested in as far as mining? Because
yes, I'm gonna cut you off, because when I first saw this, I was like, "What is that?" And I said, "Okay," because from then hearing about what it can do, as far as if I'm wrong, you're drilling into the ground, right, and you got these veins, just like we know we played Icarus. And you have those exotic deposits. We're drilling into that ground. We're pulling up stuff from out of that. And I know when you have a vein, you're getting a bunch of stuff.
Right.
out of it. So that's a lot of money. So
again, I'm really curious to find out what this is. I mean, this is beyond concept drawing. You know, that they would create the animation and stuff for it. So those of you who've been around, you guys have seen this before. If you haven't seen this before, there you go. But again, you know, if CIG continues to expand this career like this, then I'm also very hopeful for other careers. You know, that they add really a lot of depth to them. A lot of options too for what people want to do, right? If you want to, there may be a specific reason why you use this particular drone. Don't know, but like you said, maybe this drone for heavy bad atmosphere, you know what I mean? If it's on a planet with bad storms and everything else, this is the drone you go, not trying to hold your prospector steady in the air, but you get in this thing, it locks itself in the ground and you're able to do some work. I'm just making this up, y'all. So this ain't CIG talking. Please don't say CIG said that.
Confirmed.
I'm just saying there's a possible, what if it does this? So this is what if stuff, okay?
Well, actually, when I looked it up, the name Cygnus is from, I believe it's the Tigris River. So it's named, that's where the name comes from. So it made me think about, well, I believe they actually say it in there. It has to do with underwater mining. Can go underwater.
That'd be interesting.
It made me think of the old style prospectors when you use the pan. So maybe underwater has function there.
Well, we know that they are going to do things like you said, Pops, they've talked about ships and mining and resources and things like that underwater. So we'll see. You know, I hope they do put out something like this. You know, it's different.
Same.
They said it may have a 2-man operation or it may have an automated operation. But you better have some ducats for that. I guarantee you it's not going to be cheap to get one of those and operate them. So, okay. All righty. Let's go back and start back with Fist on this one. Fist, why don't we start jumping into vehicles or the different types of ships now? We start with the very first one there.
All right. So, the Gray Cat Rock and the DS. The Gray Cat Rock Remote Ore Collector is a single-seat mining ground vehicle. It is designed to mine larger crystalline minerals nodes that are beyond the reach of a hand tool, but too small for the prospector or mole. This single-seat vehicle is small enough to be transported on ships such as the Cutlass Black, Freelancer, Mercury Star Runner, and Valkyrie, allowing it to be easily transported around the surfaces of the planets and moon.
Are any of you guys rock miners or
yes?
Yeah, we've done it.
Heck yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Now, I hate to say this, I haven't rock mined since the rock came out. Honestly,
okay.
I haven't. I did, and that back then it was jacked up. Remember how the laser, you'd brick a rock and then the rocks would fly everywhere and it wouldn't pick up nothing. When that vacuum stopped working, that was it for me. I was like, okay, I'm done. Okay. But I have watched
it was
people,
arguably easier to mine with the rock back then, especially with scanning.
It was. And that's what I was going to ask you now. How do you feel about where rock mining is nowadays? Do you feel it's in a better place?
Nah.
Okay.
But maybe it's because I was so accustomed to back then, I have to kind of, readjust myself. But, but yeah, I mean, I think there's still a nice place when it comes to Gray Cat rock mining.
Okay.
But maybe not as, fruitful as it used to be back then. But I think eventually we'll see some, especially when it comes to cave mining. When we get more access to more caves for vehicle access, I think we'll see a lot more value when it comes to those vehicles like the Gray Cat Rock.
Yeah. Do you guys have any messages for CIG in relation to the Rock DS?
Oh God.
Yeah. Well, that laser operator. I'm just gonna put it to you like this: when animals and all that other stuff comes into play, you are hanging that person out to dry.
Hanging him out there, huh? Here's a little tidbit.
Seriously.
Little bit for the driver, right? So the driver can get away, right?
He's gonna be bait for capturing a boreal stalker. So I'm just gonna be, hey, yeah, you can be there, and then while he's being eaten by the boreal stalker, I'm just gonna drive out and trap it that way. So thanks for being my bait.
Not only that is what Karate said earlier. You're not going to see them in pyro.
Yeah. You know, and at CIG, I know they've heard this, right? That, you know, people, as much as they like the idea in some ways of the DS, they also feel that it is not designed well. And there's been a lot of different people who've submitted a lot of different alternative ways. I think the most popular thing that people talk about is that person in that chair needs to be enclosed. That idea of being exposed to the atmosphere, being exposed to the elements while the driver is safe makes no sense at all. So even CIG, if you put a cab around it and you still want to leave that person stuck out there like a popsicle stick, that's okay. But that double one in atmosphere, one isn't, just does not fly.
Right. Because because okay, here's the thing, right? They have to change it. And you make a good point that kind of goes back to it. Because if you get into that seat, you had to have on an environmental suit, and that's a heavy suit. Now, CIG said, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, that if you're getting into a seat, you can't get into a seat with a heavy suit on.
And that's going to be a good question, Fist, because it's what they said was heavy armor.
Right. And that will be considered heavy armor, right?
No, because remember those suits come up as, when you put them on, they come up as undersuits.
That is true.
No, but to your point, that's a good point. You know, will you be able to, right, later on? Because you're right, it's a big bulky suit, right?
Right.
Now, there may be some other limitations that CIG can put in. You guys have seen, I'm theory crafting, y'all. Theory crafting warning. You guys have seen where they have the machines with the oxygen tanks throughout the game in different locations. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
Like at the train stations and stuff, there's oxygen tanks. I wonder whether or not, let's say if you want to make that thing have some, you know, the DS or the thing, you know, mean something, maybe you have to replace the oxygen because it's an enclosed cab. You have to replace those tanks or something. You know what I mean? You can't sit out there all day with oxygen for no reason. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Something like that. Maybe in that cab, you've got to replace the bottle so that you can be inside, like you said, Fist, in a flight suit or whatever, work inside of there. Because we know that there's going to be a limitation on flight suits. Oxygen is going to go back to that thing where you can only wear a suit for 20, 30 minutes without taking oxygen. So I'm curious to see how they'll approach this thing with the Rock DS. I like the fact that two people can go out there, right? Like you get your buddy, go out and make some money. That's very cool. But that exposed to the atmosphere stuff, not to mention exposed to the teeth of anything else that's out there, just ain't cool. They gotta do something.
Exactly.
I do something with that. Okay. Fist, what's the next one we got up?
All righty, here we go. We got Miss Prospector, single operator. All right. The Miss Prospector has long been the preferred ship for solar miners and surveyors throughout the universe, featuring Miss sleek design, sensibility, a bevy of high-tech mining tools, and dedicated storage pods for extracted resources. This utilitarian powerhouse perfectly balances form and functionality.
Very first mining ship we got in game, pretty popular, but a price jump, right? To jump into on the career side, you know, you come into the game, you can start doing cargo and some other things for less than $100 back in the game. Thankfully, you can earn it, right? You can work for it and earn it in game, right? Which is cool. It's not too bad to do that. Everybody got a prospector here? Had one?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you have an Orion, you have that's a loan.
You get one, right, as a loan, right? Okay. Yeah, pretty happy with the ship. I'm looking forward to it. There's some things about the prospector we don't know, or I don't know. Maybe you guys know. Will they put in a filtering system that will allow you to filter out inert materials? Because
that's been the big question,
right? Because right now it still sucks everything in. I've heard that it will do it. I don't think it does separation. Unless I'm wrong, Calrati, do you remember if it's supposed to separate into the bags? Can you say bag like with the expansion? You can do that. Can you do that on this ship? Can you say bag one, this bag two? I'm talking about later. I don't ever remember them talking about that. Do you?
I don't remember them talking about that, but I would say that the decision of whether or not that happens or not, I think also depends on the mining ship that comes. I mean, we have the mole,
right?
But I think it also is affected by whatever other iterations of mining ships that come later on. Like if it's between a mole and Orion, to get an idea of how advanced a ship has to be to tailor that kind of functionality. To see, okay, should players do this or that? depending on their mining operations, depending on the environment, those things, if they really need to do that. So I think they're also basing it on those future decisions as well.
I'd be happy if they just filter out inert. And as you mentioned, we'll talk about the mole next, because the mole has way more functionality. There's an actual couple operator areas in there. And maybe the mole, as you said, will get that level of separation of materials, which would make sense to me there.
We do have an active consumable that does that. So it's a matter of whether they is it active or passive? I can't remember, but it's a matter of whether
passive. Do you guys remember? I forgot.
Right, I see that.
All about that.
Citizens are.
Yeah. Cesar said it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there is a passive module that does. So it's a matter of whether they want to make it not redundant, but to some extent capable, and whether or not there are some advantages and disadvantages to have it built into the ship. So yeah, who knows?
See, y'all, I'm one who put all the stuff together, and I didn't know that's what the filter did. I didn't. So thank you guys for telling me that.
The passive,
because I'm sure gonna start buying a passive filter now, because I was not buying one before, but I will be now, because I'm tired of dodging all that inert.
That's like 60, 80,000 something.
Yeah, it ain't cheap. Okay.
Yeah,
someone tell me this though, but that little thing, ever since the ship came out, I can't remember what that little thing in the back of the prospector does, or what it's supposed to do. When you get out of the ship, and that little thing just comes down, and it just opens up for you. What is that supposed to be? I can't remember in the design doc. What that is supposed to do?
I do not remember. We'll have to find out, I guess. Okay. Alrighty, that's the MISC prospector. Let's move it right along here. What else we got next?
All right, so we got the Argo Mole. This is a multi-operator. The Argo Astronautics Mole multi-operator laser extractor is a medium-sized multi-crew mining ship with 3 independent mining turrets and comprehensive crew facilities. It is a ship perfect for efficient multi-crew mining. In addition, a large array of 24 mineral pods ensures that nothing valuable will never be left behind. The mole lives, by the adage, many hands make for light work.
Yeah. And I didn't mention this about the prospector. You guys know that the prospector has 4 of those bags on the side.
Yeah.
And just know that that's when you see those extended, there's another set above them. So you actually have 8 on the prospector. On the mole, because you have 6, is it 8 of them or 6 bags on each side? 8 bags or 6? I forget.
I think it's 8.
It's 8. So there's another set above those. There's 2 more sets above those. So that's the reason why they come up with this number of 24 mineral pods.
Wow.
Axis, thank you so much for that resub. Appreciate that very much. Thank you. So that's what they're talking about there.
Thanks for the subscription.
Again, this ship, you've got 3 positions with lasers. You've got a pilot and a co-pilot seat on this ship, which is interesting. And then there's also the operator section in that middle section of the ship. And that's what I was referring to earlier. Will this ship be a ship where somebody can actually go up there and maybe, we don't know what those controls are for, but they're there for some reason. As we always say, if CIG spends that much time and effort into something, it's not there for decoration.
Right.
Will that be the area where maybe before or after someone can actually, during or after, can sit there and actually sort materials into different pods? I don't know. Maybe that's where you go to eject the pods. We don't know yet, right? But I am curious to see what other positions are there, because even though that we just mentioned 3 lasers, there's still a co-pilot seat. And I mean, unless that person's just sitting there, whatever, because I'm not sure what they would be doing, They could be scanning. They could be scanning.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they could be scanning. But then you do have still that workstation in the back, and I'd be really curious to see what that does too. Do you guys have have you guys operated in a mole before?
This was our main mining ship. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Okay.
We would go out all the time.
Now, how do you feel about crewing it? Do you go out solo? Go out with 2? Go out with 3?
Oh, well, whenever we play the game and do mining, we'd always go into the mole, because I would always be the pilot, possibly jump in the middle.
Okay.
And we just go out and just surface mine.
And you guys are doing it, 2 of you. Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, we went out on an adventure one time with Kimmy. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, the reason why I asked is that I've seen people. I know one person, our good friend Robba, who enjoys. Wow, Quarrelsome Prime. Thank you.
Raid.
Thank you for that raid,
Nice.
Quarrelsome Prime. Thank you. Welcome everybody to the Soul Citizens. We appreciate that. Quarrelsome, hope you had a very, very good stream and you get some very good rest afterward. Thank you. Thank you. I was mentioning about our friend Robert. Robert will take his mole out solo.
Whoa.
Oh
That's a
yeah.
tough job.
Okay,
He a
that
tough
right
guy.
there.
He a tough guy.
Okay, wait
He
a
a tough
minute.
guy.
Yeah, he is.
I don't do it. Now,
He don't care.
Now, but I mean, don't get me wrong. He functions. He does it. Makes his money and everything.
Okay. Okay.
I like going out with a full team. You know, I like
Right.
going out with a
Yeah, you're
pilot
right.
and 3 operators. I really do.
Right.
Because when you get that type of operation, and don't get me wrong, Robert will go out. We've gone out together as a group too. But I'm saying he has no hesitancy about going out in a mole by himself. But when I've been with him and Colossal, some other people, we get together, and man, when you got a nice 3-person operation in those lasers, plus a good pilot,
So efficient.
it's like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
it's really, really good. So
yeah.
So I really do enjoy that. I do enjoy that. Cal Roddy,
I
what
got
about, yeah, go ahead, Fizz.
Okay. I want to say, because before we get off of the thing, I want to understand, because I got to speak to Robert. I want to see Robert solo this thing at Calliope in high winds.
Yeah.
He probably stays away from that. He keeps it within
Oh,
reason. He
man,
keeps
that'll
it
be
within
that
reason.
challenge, though.
But you know, I'm more spooked about just if somebody comes after me. You know what I mean? I just because you got to make that trip down that ladder and everything else, man. I'm too spooked out by that. Like I said, he's a tough guy. Like I said, he's a tough guy. All right, last but not least, let's hit the granddaddy of them all. Go ahead, there, Fist.
This is my baby, my dear to heart. I call her the Ugly Betty. The RSI Orion Heavy Industrial. The Orion is the premier multi-crew mining ship in the universe, utilizing up to 7 crew stations for efficiency, rapid mining of large ore deposits. The Orion's features include high-grade turret-mounted tractor beam arrays, plenty of mineral storage, and a cabin designed by the team that brought you the Aurora and Constellation.
Okay. I once again, Cal Roddy, I'll start with you because these guys have already told me.
Yeah, they're set, man.
Yeah, are you?
They're ready and waiting.
Are you interested? I mean, this is the industrial ship. I mean, this may be too much for a lot of people, right? I mean, some people may say, "Hey, that's just way too much ship for me." Is this something you could see yourself doing or working on, or what are your feelings about it?
I mean, of course. I mean, it has a cabin designed by the team that that brought us the Aurora. So I mean, of course, I'm for it.
Okay.
But on a more serious note, given what we saw with the Reclaimer and that whole multi-crew kind of aspect with regards to even the mundane things like handling the cargo and those things, I'm even more excited when it comes to using the Orion. And that's one of the things that I'm very, very curious about. And that feeling, that experience of being in that crew and handling, whatever operations that we need to handle, because we know that, okay, with the Expanse, for example, even though that's a refiner, not a miner, we know that there may be, just a single other operation that we'll have to do. So kind of combining that and extrapolating it in conjunction with what we're seeing with the Reclaimer with regards to the operations and requirements that may be needed, I'm really curious and looking forward to even being part of the actual crew within the Orion. Both executing the operations and also kind of just experiencing that whole multi-crew life in a large capital ship miner.
Okay.
Yeah, what makes me think is the learning curve that's going to be needed to operate this ship with all the different stations and the refining station, who's operating the beam, who's the drone operator. Yeah, I wish we'd have that's what I was thinking about the hangar the other day. How big a ship will we be able, at least in hangar? You won't be able to do any mining in a hangar, but at least you'll be able to go around and get yourself familiar with the different stations, things like that. I'm just really wondering about the training that's going to be needed for that ship.
Okay. Fist, any thoughts about the Orion?
Man, first of all, as you can see, I'm excited. I drool over it, dream about it, when that time comes. Like, Conradi, yourself, and my dad said, I am definitely looking forward to being out in deep space with this thing, whether or not if it's mine or just being on somebody's within the org or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, the one thing about this ship and I shouldn't say over the other ones, in the other ships, the expertise is being able to handle a laser, right? Knowing the laser that you're using, whichever one you're using, knowing the indicators and the controls, the HUD, things of that nature. The Orion introduces a whole nother dynamic of careers. Pops, you mentioned some of them. There's a scanning operator, there's a spectrum analyzer person, there's the pilot of the ship, there is the tractor beam operators, there is a feeding, I forget what it's called, but it's like a conveyor thing that brings the stuff into the ship. There's the refinery area of the ship. There's like 8 positions, if I'm not mistaken, on this ship, distinct positions. So this is not the ship that you and your best friend are going to go out and handle and go do industrial strength mining. It's going to be demanding, but at the same time, obviously profitable because of what this ship can do. This is the one that goes out and eats asteroids, and really does a really good job, and is intended, to your point, Fist, deep space, right? This is the one you go out into. You're not taking around just to go out in the belt and come right back. Probably you're going to take the ship and spend a lot of time out there in the verse. If you're going to use a ship like this, Saltrine 63, thank you for that follow. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the follow.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yes, do I own an Orion? Yes, I own all the mining ships, and I love it because I want to be able to take my friends and say, which one y'all want to take? Let's go and make some. That's money. Right. Make some money. Okay. Alrighty, this one lands on me, right? The next one? Yeah, refining. Let's talk about that. We're moving from the mining aspect now to refining. Refining is the process by which ore and other raw materials obtained from mining are filtered and purified into a more valuable resource. These resources may then be transported and sold for higher profits. Citizens may choose a variety of methods of refinement, which each have different costs, efficiencies, and speeds. Refining is conducted primarily at refinery decks and in the future on certain ships such as the Orion and the Expanse. And we want to kind of reiterate that there are 2 ships that CIG has told us will be doing refining. There's actually a 3rd ship that they referenced, they brought up, and I'm going to bring it up when we get to it later, but I ain't going to talk about it right now. But refining. I think all of you guys were around back in the day when we didn't have refineries, right? We just used to be able to just sell raw material, and that was it. Do you guys take the time to refine, or do you just say, screw it, I need my money now, whatever I can get?
I always refine.
Yeah, I refine. It's definitely a logistical thing too, because you got to know because each station has yields, to what materials you can get out of, as far as percentages and stuff like that. So it's definitely a chart table thing.
Yeah. Since you mentioned it, Calrighty, why don't you go ahead and let folks know where they can go?
All right, so you guys can see it. Refinery locations: Arc L1, White Forest Station; Arc L2, Lively Pathway Station; Arc L4, Faint Glen Station; Crew L1, Ambitious Dream Station; Hurston L1 or Her L1, Green Glade Station; Her L2, Faithful Dream Station; Mike L1, Shallow Frontier Station; and Mike L2, Long Forest Station. All those places you can go to refine your mined goods.
What's your favorite, Calrighty? Where do you go most of the time?
So it's a good thing that you mentioned that. So usually I mine around ArcCorp, so it can either be Arc L1 or Arc L2.
Okay.
But I do hope that in the future, and I'm looking forward in the future to there being a lot more distinct differences to really encourage us to go to certain locations. I mean, yes, there are there are yield differences, and there are also efficiency and use case differences. But that's the other thing, I guess, that needs to be iterated on and built on in the future. So at the moment, I usually just go to Arc L1 and Arc L2 mainly because that's where I mine around Arc Lyria and either the Asteroid Belt, the Aeon Halo. So that's one of the things that I'm hoping that they actually kind of work on. So yeah.
Okay. Fist, you got a spot you go to all the time?
I don't have a designated spot that I go to all the time. Usually, like, depends on what what material I'm getting.
Okay.
So, and I haven't done it in so long though, but I used to have that website that had the chart of each station where it tells you
what
which
the yields
one
are and stuff. And the
right,
times.
exactly. So I would go based off of that.
Okay.
Okay.
Pops, you got a favorite one?
No, they all look alike to me.
See what I'm saying?
Well, I got my favorite ones, and it's not a scientific reason, but I'm always at either ARC L1 or L2 because my baby is near there. I gotta stay near, ARC Corp. So anyway, that's an inside joke, y'all. All right, people who get it, they get it.
Goodness,
all right,
I just got it.
You just got it. Okay.
I just got it.
Okay. But no, actually, I do. Now, mind you, I have used Hurl L1, and I've used Crew L1. I have used both of those. I have not used the new stations that they just added, Mick L2 and Arc L4. I have not used those stations. I think I visited Arc L4. But there is, those of you who do know, there are differences in some of these stations and their yields. Some may pay out Quantanium more. Somebody may pay gold out more. It all depends. So pay attention to those numbers. If you see a +3, +4, whatever, you know that one plays a higher yield. You might see a -2 or -3. Yeah, you're going to get paid, but you're not going to make as much money on the yield that you have. Okay, that's something to keep in mind. All right. All righty, let's move out of there. Let's talk about the mobile refinery because we just read about that a second ago. Fist, why don't you hit? Is it Fist this time?
Yes, that's on me.
Yeah.
All right. So mobile refinery, the Expanse. The Expanse is a single-seat refinery ship manufactured by Musashi Industrial and Starflight Concern. It is designed to process frontline raw ore, then either transfer to a dedicated cargo ship or sell the refined ore itself. Ideal in combination with mining vehicles such as the Prospector and/or cargo ships like the Hull A, the Expanse shines as a critical part of an organized mining team.
Okay. And this is where we're starting to move toward the, when I was talking about earlier about how this whole mining career is getting fleshed out. We've been pretty much just having mining ships this whole time, hand mining ships, but now we're starting to expand into this area of refining. And the Expanse was something that caught us completely off guard. We knew that there was a refining ship 2 years ago. They told us, yeah, we're working on a refine. Actually kind of looks like the little silhouette that they put up there. But Calrati, what are we going to do about that name? What are we going to do about that name, man? I mean,
yeah.
Orion, yeah, I kind of get it. Prospector, I definitely get it. Expanse?
I kind of wonder.
Somebody just binge watch the show that weekend and say, okay, that's what a name. We'll call it the Expanse. What? Okay. Anyway, go ahead. Talk to me about this.
Theory.
What, you got a theory?
I have a theory. Yeah, I have a theory.
Let's hear it.
It was dartboard day.
Is that
and
what
somebody just they took
names up there?
Dart, had a bunch of names, and that's where it landed.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. You know what, Shimpasta? Interesting way to look at that. Shimpasta just gave us some light at the end of the tunnel. That the Expanse is expandable. I'll buy that for $1, Shimpasta, but only $1. Okay, only $1. Okay, it's kind of there. You might have turned the Titanic a little bit for me on that one. Okay, yeah, call it the refiner. There you go, Rogue. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is something that we were really excited about. Now, very specialized, right? Fist may not be for everybody, right?
No, you're right.
Okay. Because this is a ship that processes, it does what the refineries do at the stations. We don't know but we don't know. Okay, this is what we do know about it. We know that it refines on site. We know that it uses certain other products in the process of refining. So you have to purchase some stuff in order for this thing to work. Chemicals, whatever it is, certain things that you do as the operator. We know that you also have to manage the operation. It's not a matter of just throwing it in the oven and it pops out. You've got to actually work controls and stuff to determine how to get the greatest and best yield. So there's going to be some type of something that you've got to do as the operator, right?
Right. Okay.
Go ahead.
Now, I have a thing about this because maybe somebody may know. Okay, because just like with the stations, as we just talked about, the stations have yields plus and minuses, right? Will there be a benefit to going to a station versus going to the expanse?
And that question is the question that is the number one question that everybody asks. What is the benefit? Why should I do the expanse? You know, and you know, there may be reasons, right? Let me give you a good example of one reason why you may do it. If there's no place to sell your stuff anywhere near there, or refine rather, no place to refine, right? You got to do 3 or 4 jumps to take your stuff somewhere where if you sell your stuff right there at that moon and the planet next to it is willing to buy that stuff like that and pay you, it's worth it. You know what I mean?
Right.
That could be one of the reasons why. I'm sure there's other reasons that CIG will create, right? But you're right. With Stanton having so many refineries in it right now, we say, where's the competition, right? Why even go through all that work when I can just go drop my stuff off within 2 minutes and have the same, and have it in a safer way of refining it, right?
Right.
Now, what happens if CIG does like they do with NPCs, where they say that, yeah, you can buy an NPC, but an NPC will never be as efficient as a human player. So what if refining becomes that same thing? Yeah, you can drop it off at ArcL2, but you will get greater yield and efficiency if you do it yourself.
I hope so.
That could be the other reason for doing it. But then what comes along with that, right, is the expertise to do so. Just because you got a human in there, just like the turret gunner, right? You got a crummy turret gunner in there, so what? But somebody who knows what they're doing, great scanning person, knows what they're doing, great person who knows refining, great.
Right.
So that may be, like you said, the equalizer, right? For why you would do one over the other, right? And maybe why some people are willing to pay the money or back or work toward this ship, because they really are going to get off on being able to produce high yield resources and material in the game.
Yeah.
And I say, to the reasons why you would use the expansion, you could, price. You mentioned that the market. What if you, use it to stockpile, in your warehouse or whatever it is, so that that way you wait for the market to rise.
Yeah.
Because if you take it to the refinery, you're automatically selling it right then and there at that price. So you could use it.
Let's talk about that when we get to the cargo decks, Pops. Don't forget. Okay, make sure we bring that back up, because what you will do with the expanse, to Pops's point, is you ain't paying the fees that you're gonna pay at the refinery. Right?
That's true.
Because right now we don't know what those fees are. We got these dummy numbers in there right now, but you may find out that refining in a system where minerals are abundant, maybe not that much. But then you got a sole refinery in some system. They the only one within 8 systems away, and these jokers want to charge you almost a third of your freaking profits to refine, right? Now you got a problem.
I apologize. I had to be like Colossal, pull out the pistol. Just put it like, say what? You want to rethink that?
Yeah. So, one of the things that they mentioned here too about the expanse, this introduces 2 elements, right? Either the element of you refine, you drop your bags, you have some other type of transport cargo ship that picks up that material and takes off, or you can fill it up. But once you get them 8 bags filled up, that's it. Buck stops there, and you can take that stuff in yourself. For some people, they may do that because for the time frames to drop that stuff off someplace, especially if it's a 2-person operation, right? It's doable. By the time I go and drop those bags off and come back, my prospector has already unloaded 4 more bags for me, and I can start working on that. Then again, some people might have a major operation going on where they want that expanse to stay in that area. Maybe there's 2-3 prospectors or a prospector and a mole working, and now you brought somebody in with a hull A. Did you guys notice they specifically said the hull A? Because do you think that those bags will be attachable to a ship like the hull A? Because all we've seen so far is boxes. Do you think that they'll make it so that there is a way to bring those bags onto a hull A?
I guess it depends on how that cargo grid thing works, because we know that most likely the cargo grid will trap the cube-like versions, but whether or not even on a plate it can actually trap some kind the pod, later on, at least, if they'll rethink it. So that's what I've always been curious about, how the cargo grids work, and if it's magnetic or in some way, especially as it's vertical, how that's going to work for the non-SCU dimensioned boxes.
Yeah, good question. Good question. We will find out. Okay. All right, let's move on past the Expanse, because that's the one mobile way we have to do some stuff. And let's get into these processes here. We talked about, excuse me, pardon me. The refining process is done through work orders, which can be dispatched at refining terminals located in the processing centers. Different refining methods have different durations, costs, and yields associated with them. Here are the different categories. Speed. The speed at which the refining is done. All refinery jobs are completed in real time, regardless of whether the citizen is logged in or not. So keep that in mind. Cost. The relative cost in AUEC of the refinery job per unit of one. And lastly, yield. The bonus or penalty refined material provided after completion of the job. So we talked about that plus and minus thing when you go to a different location. You need to see whether or not refining a material here has a positive to it. In other words, greater profitability, or a negative to it. And sometimes you have to eat that negative. Sometimes you just, you got
no other choice, man.
No other choice, right? It's a -2, and it's like, yeah, but this other stuff I got. Now, that's the other thing they haven't allowed us to do yet, guys. And talk to us a little bit about that sorting stuff. Like, when you go there now, you got to dump everything. You can't say, we'll only leave the gold here. I'm going to take my titanium over to here, right? You're kind of forced to dump everything. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay. Calradi, why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit about these different methods and stuff, okay?
Yeah, sure. And in advance, excuse my pronunciation with some of these things. Anyway, let's go. Refining methods. Cormac method, the Dynix solvention,
Sterolysis.
Thank you. I was going to say that, but
here.
You said it too fast, so you didn't give me a chance to say it, man. Anyway, Gaskin process, the Kazan winnowing. Who? Anyway.
Yeah.
Pyrometric chromolysis. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Thermodynamic deposition. An XCR reaction. Thank God for the last one.
They cut you a little slack on that very last one, right?
You made it.
Which is weird. I can speak multiple languages, but see that shit. Thank you. No, thank you.
They call techno babble, right? The techno babble.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you guys. Fist, I'll go to you first. What methods have you used that are up here, and which one do you use most of the time?
I've used pyrometric, and I believe I've used thermonatic.
The one Calradi said.
Yeah, there you go. Right. There you go. Right.
Yeah, right.
No, I mean, I think I used the pyrometric because I remember getting some like quantanium from somewhere. I mean, I haven't done it in so long, but I think that's what I did because I wanted to see that. I think that was the maximum yield.
Yeah.
One. So I wanted to test it out. That's what I was doing at the time. So.
Okay. Calradi, what about you?
Yeah, that one, I think, that would be the solvention, I think, is what I normally go with.
Yeah.
That's the one that normally takes about a day and some hours to actually get the highest yield.
Yeah.
But the speed is very, very low, and the cost, of course, is low. So that's what I normally go with the most, unless it's something that, if I'm just, mining anything that I see, then I would just go with the highest cost. And so I would sometimes, just out of the sake of it, just go with a Gaskin process just to see how it is. But yeah, if I'm mining with Quantanium, it's usually normally just the solvention.
Okay. Pops, what about you? Any particular one?
Yeah, we've used the one my son said. Which one did you say?
Pyrometric.
Oh, pyrometric. Okay.
The pyrometric and the
Dynix solvention.
Yeah.
That's the one I do exclusively now. Just because my pattern when I get into my mood to mine, I'll mine every day. and every day I drop at least one load. So that means every 24 hours, I'm bringing in about 350,000 in credits. So every 3 days, it's 1 million roughly. That's just a pattern that I have just done. My question is to you guys, do you think right now these are all available, at least at the stations when I go to it? Do you think that they'll break these down, just like everything else, where some things will be located in some place and some in other places? Because most, like for me, why would I, the way I operate, why would I pick anything else of those 10 items? Why I'll just always pick Dynex. What happens if I go to a station and Dynex is not available now? You know what
exactly.
I mean?
Yeah.
Do you think that they'll start doing that?
I think that also connects to what I was saying and what I'm hoping that they do with regards to differentiating these different stations, And I think also even with the expanse and the refining process, I can see not the active experience of refining, mimicking these things, but implementing modules to kind of mimic these kind of refining methods, even during the active refining process. So maybe a module may mimic the XCR reaction somewhat, in terms of the yield versus the speed. Even though the mobile refining, they've stated that it should be faster than the station based.
Okay.
But in terms of comparing, I can see where different stations can have the uniqueness in terms of their different refining methods to kind of justify, okay, if I am going to a particular station, should I choose this station? And even if I'm actually choosing this station, do I have the reputation and a bunch of other factors to allow me to land there to do my refining?
Wow. Yeah, we haven't even gotten into that. That could be a huge limitation for a miner, that if your reputation does not meet the requirements of that system to be able, there may be a station there, but you just can't land there.
Yeah, Ruin Station don't want no UEE scum landing out there.
Yeah, what a pain in the butt that would be, right? You're forced to have to jump into another system, possibly. I mean, hopefully there's one maybe it's across the other side of the system. Maybe it's a pain in the butt to get to, but what if that system is just generally, hostile to whatever your reputation is? Now like you said, you're forced to maybe the next 2-3 systems you jump through, there are no stations. You've got to jump maybe 5 jumps, to get somewhere. Wow. That is thanks, Cal Roddy, for ruining that idea about rock mining. Okay. Truly appreciate that. All righty. Okay. All right. Let's jump out of these and move on to cargo ships and different vehicles. Fist?
All right. Well, cargo ships, read them off. We have the Mule. We have the Freelancer Max, we have the Constellation Taurus, and Starfarer Gemini.
Now, interestingly enough, I did not include the hull A here because I do have it coming up later. So it's interesting that they mentioned it in relation to being able to move things from the expanse. I have it set up for when you want to transport the stuff after it's refined. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it there. But we can talk about it here too. Let's talk about the Mule first, right? Okay. What's the Mule got to do with any of this stuff? How did what are we going to use the Mule for? Any thoughts?
So remember that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay. So I was going to say real quick. Remember that one ISC where Jared was teasing about that whole I think it was a refining kind of station on the surface of the moon, or some kind of resource management station on the surface of the moon, and it was a surface-based refinery. And I was thinking, okay, in places where there may be no fly zones, etc., and you have to transport these refined ore or these refined material from point A to point B, then maybe ships like the Mule and those things can support these kinds of cargo on the ground may act as some kind of bridge to transport these ships, or not the ships, but the actual refined materials to your ship where there is a fly safe zone, right? Or where there isn't a no-fly zone, So, and that kind of reminds me of when I was doing this, just role playing, and I was doing a bunker mission, and I landed my ship, about approximately 2 kilometers away, and I got my mule out, and I just rode that. I just drove my mule to the bunker, got some cargo, and went back. So I can see it having some kind of incentive with regards to no-fly zones and giving some justification to using a vehicle versus a ship. But yeah.
Okay. Any of you guys got any other thoughts about what the Mule could be about?
I guess it would, would be there to once your stuff is finished processing, you need to put it on your freelancer. That's the vehicle to, your
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, I mean, we got a hint this week with that whole thing about the reclaimer, right? The cargo refactor. Remember that whole process of once those boxes came in, you got to move them around,
shoveling out. Yeah, you're right.
There ain't gonna be none of this stuff just popping into your ship no more. You got to move that stuff around, right? So you may have a mule, right, in your Starfarer, in your Connie Taurus to help move this stuff around quickly. Yeah, you can hand walk it off if you want to, but you may find that it's faster to move using something like that, right? Freelancer Max and Connie Taurus are pretty popular ships in the sense of moving stuff. People were really excited that the Taurus finally came in game. They both carry a decent amount of space and also a defensive capability. So those are popular ships too. I want to talk about the Starfarer and the Gemini because some of you may remember that a little while back, who is that? Oh, the Few. Oh, Few. Thank you so much for that raid. Party of 5.
Thank you.
Welcome everybody from the Few. Few, hopefully you had a great stream. Thank you so much for sending your loved ones here, and we'll try to take care of them. The Freelancer Max and Taurus, common ships, Starfarer, Gemini. A little while back, CIG was talking about mining. And this is when they started talking to us more about their vision for that ship. We knew that the Starfarer would harvest gases and hydrogen. Then we also found out when they started talking about refueling, they made a statement. They said that when someone is mining, they could bring their resources from their prospector or their mole to the Starfarer. And they didn't say anything more than that. What are your thoughts on that? Does anybody in chat remember that? Because they didn't go into any deep stuff.
No, they did not.
They talked about bringing your resources to the Starfarer. And mind you, we mentioned this earlier, the Starfarer is one of the ships that has a refinery on it.
Right, but I thought that refinery was for gas.
So why would you bring hard resources to it?
That's
it could hold a heck of a lot. The only thing I could have possibly imagined would be if you need to do some refueling and that they
were very specific. Here's the deal. They said resources. I hear you, architect, because they do have interchange. Those containers in the back of it can be swapped out for different type of things. Quarrelsome, I see you say the thing about Quantanium. It carries Quantanium. We don't know if there is a Quantanium refinery on it, and I don't want to assume that because you saw what happened with the Odyssey, right? What they said, I'm just quoting them. I'm quoting them. You can bring your resources. They didn't specify what.
Okay, now Shimpasta, I think it was, let me scroll up here. Let me look at this. I think, Shimpasta said maybe provisions for the crew. You said resources, so are we
referring to refined material, not edible?
Well, I mean, that is true. I mean, we've been talking about mining, but they were talking about the cargo ships right now, so I don't know what they really mean. But that's a good suggestion. I don't know.
The only thing I can really that crosses my mind is that they didn't mention mining colonies. I don't know if it would have something to do with delivering those materials to a colony.
Well, let me put it this way. This is in relation to, it wasn't like they were talking about using it as a cargo ship. This is when they were talking about the refining.
Okay. So that narrows it down. Well, then...
I'm just putting it out there as a challenge, y'all, because CIG didn't say what specifically.
Right.
But
I'll stay quiet on this one because...
but what they did say was you could bring your resources there and have them refined. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see. We know there's a refinery on it. It would be great if it does quantanium. That would be great, but quantanium is volatile. I've tried to look at how the Starfarer is designed and see, well, where does that operation take place for refining? There's a lot of big holes. Even though I know where the refining canisters are in the back, those two first big ones, the black ones, are refining, and the other ones are the ones that carry whatever the items are. But do you do it from that panel back there? Are they going to create? I hope they do. That would expand the Starfarer even more, right? More stuff that you can do with it beyond. We've talked about carrying water and fuel and stuff, but man, if you could actually refine some other type of stuff, maybe stuff that we don't even know about, it'd be great. So let's see where CIG goes with that. So those of you who got that Starfarer out there, hang on to it. Close. Especially if you only paid $185 for it. Hang on to it, all right? You may get your money's worth even more. But if you're working for one, I will tell you to hang on to it too, okay? All righty, let's move on past this here. Where are we at? Where did we leave off at?
Cargo decks.
Cargo decks.
Cargo decks. All right, cargo decks. There we go. Oh, we turn these off. I don't need those. Cargo ships, cargo decks. Okay, now let's talk about some different ships and talk about another aspect of the game that we haven't seen implemented. Now, cargo decks came in quite a while ago, right? But that was about it. They came in and there wasn't too much of anything else that has happened with them. Some people go down there to get their little storage box, but that's about it, right? So you've got the Argo MPUV cargo, the Argo SRV, the Argo Raft, and the Misk Hull series of ships. Again, we talked about how this career is expanding and gotten deeper now because, as was mentioned, several people mentioned in chat, once you mine, once you refine, Pops, you started going down that path, right? When I want to take my stuff and sell it on the market, maybe I don't want to sell it right now. Maybe I don't want to even sell it right here, but I also need to put my stuff somewhere, right? Exactly. So cargo decks start to fall into play. Now, we've all been down to the cargo decks before. We see the cranes and all the containers stacked and all that cool stuff. But for those of you who've been to refining stations or big stations, you also have seen where the cargo decks are outside, right? Is that just cosmetic, Fist? Or do you think that we're going to pull up to those somewhere or other, that box on the external is going to get highlighted and you'll know that's the one that you need to grab and pull out? What do you think they might do?
Well, I mean, one thing about CIG is nothing in here is really cosmetic. Everything has a purpose, especially when it comes to industrial stuff like that. So when you pull up to cargo deck, I believe that it may work like that. You might see your box highlighted, or you may even have an NPC that may come out and say, "Hey, listen, we got this over here. Let me show you to, your stuff." Or something like that. So
okay, Pops.
Yeah, no, like I was saying before, just really to store so that you possibly can get the best price when the market avails itself to you. It was my whole idea. And then you need the ships to move them around. The MPV is a great, to me, it's a great, if you need to do some delivering, maybe to a bigger ship back and forth kind of a thing, you could use it for that.
Okay. Calrati?
Yeah, I can definitely see the MPUV and other ships act as kind of transport ships, like Pops was saying, to a much larger one. Because the thing is, yes, even though the Hull series and the Argo Raft, by default they will be able to do regular trading, whether it's within a single system, etc., etc. Like many things, you can use these ships for other tasks. So especially when it comes to much larger ships, that just doesn't make sense transporting from one station to another or one location to another with regards to getting the cargo and organizing the cargo. Some of these ships can actually be pretty useful when it comes to getting cargo from a particular moon or planetary surface to that larger ship or to that cargo deck for your storage. I'm not going to carry, or I'm not going to take a much larger ship like a Hercules if it costs a lot to just transport a whole bunch of my stuff from a planetary location to a station if it's just transporting, and I'm not even going to be selling anything. It's just transporting, So when it comes to transporting cargo from a landing zone, a planetary landing zone, to a space station, I can see that something that costs less, that has less operation cost, when it comes to organizing, if there's no kind of end profit, at least in the short term.
Okay. Any of these vehicles, any of you guys own?
Hull series. Hull A, my beloved Hull A. I love it.
Okay.
Courtesy, Soul Citizens.
I believe we at one point we own the D or the E, son, and then we
we went big and we was like, wait, whoa.
And you check the cargoes.
Yeah. And
wait
a minute.
I was like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah. And
let me rethink about this.
Okay.
Then we went and bought the Banu Merchantman.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Which of these vehicles that you see up here do you think will be the one that's used the most at stations?
Probably the MPUV. I'm gonna think the MPUV. Yeah,
I think so. Also, yeah, because of how small it is, and I think the MPUV is also a version of it is supposed to have a tractor beam, right?
correct. That's exactly what I was thinking. Because that's what Pops just mentioned, being able to move stuff back and forth, not just to your cargo specific ships, but to your military ships as well. So I would see that be definitely on there.
I guess it could also be a matter of whether or not how many people will be doing cargo and be it just regular commodities or refined goods across how many systems. And because of that, the kind of or size of cargo you'll be treating with. So let's say, for example, more persons may be handling a lot larger cargo, et cetera, maybe the Argo SRV may be more popular than the Argo MPUV, depending on, of course, how capable both ships are with regards to transporting a particular size of cargo, and whether or not, is it cheaper to use multiple MPUVs as opposed to using multiple SRVs for organizing and transporting cargo to a much larger ship before the long haul,
Now, I want to say something, because you said which one of these will you see the most on the cargo deck. Now, what if you're in an alien system, right? Will CIG come up with a alien version of the MPUV that you would specifically see that's tied to that system that they specifically use?
Well, here's the deal, right? CIG has always said that they have no problems with having different manufacturers making ships, because everybody has their preference of what they want to use, right? So the alien ship thing is something that a lot of people are excited about, seeing what CIG's alien version of different things will be. What they're going to come up with, who knows? The closest thing we've seen so far is the what's it called?
Gatak?
The Gatak.
Yep, the
Gatak, Gatak, right? That's like the first introduction. I mean, beyond the Banu Merchantman, the Gatak is like one of the very first ones we've seen a variant of a cargo ship from one of the other races. So I don't know. We'll see, Fist, on that one. That's a good question. I think that the raft is going to be something that you'll see a lot going from station to planet, station to moon, something like that. It holds 3 containers. If you're trying to deliver to a homestead, something along those lines. It could be used as, interplanetary as well, I guess depending on the need of what people want to use, because it has quantum capability. The Argo SRV, even though a lot of people think of it as the tow truck, it definitely is used for moving cargo boxes as well. In its graphics, there's a sequence where it's like on a cargo deck area and it's moving boxes around. Hull series, we already know what the deal is with those, right? C, D, and E, definitely long range. You can do long range on the other ones too, but planetary with the alpha, planetary with the beta. So I'm curious to see how we will be able to extract, like you said, Fist, maybe that MPUV is the ship that's snatching the boxes out and putting it and attaching it to the hull ships. The Argo SRV, I'm not the SRV. The SRV could do that. The raft might even be able to do it, believe it or not. If they configure those cargo boxes in a certain way, you know what I mean, on the deck, on the external, where you actually pull up to that thing, attach, and pull 3 out at a time and now bring them over, that would be kind of cool too. Got to be a good pilot, but it would be kind of cool to see them do something like that.
You know, I also was thinking that they probably would have some type of a mission where scenario, let's say your Polaris is delivering something to a colony, and maybe that colony is maybe, you know, that Polaris can only get but so close to it, and you need, you know, something to, you know, pick it up and transport it there very quickly. Also, maybe if they had something in the game that's super high value and it needs to get to a military ship, that would be it. You know, that would be my choice.
It could be. You know, I think, Pops, the thing about it, because the game's not where we want it to be right now, your cost of putting a Polaris down on a planet surface ain't gonna be worth it. You know what I mean? Ain't gonna be worth it. It's not.
Right.
I'm talking about for a lot of reasons. Not only we talking about aspects of fuel, exposure, maneuverability in atmosphere. You know, that's the job when you as that Polaris person, either hiring somebody or you've got something on your ship. Maybe you've got that in your hangar. You know, because, you know, they're talking about redesigning this, you know, the Polaris a little bit, right? Maybe there'll be room for not only that fighter, but for you to also have that SRV or MPUV in there. You know what I mean? Because that's one of the things with the Idris, right? The Idris has got like several of those little MPUVs in it, but you could also be moving things with that. I'm only referencing this cargo decks piece because we know cargo refactors coming in. We know that we're seeing this game loop coming up with mining, refining, transport, right? Because you've got to get your stuff someplace afterward. And whether it's moving it from the cargo decks, like Pop said, if you want to store stuff, because hey, I know the price in copper. I've been down to the TDD, which we're going to talk about last. And the TDD says that in Goss, copper is blowing through the roof right now. And I've been hitting a good copper mine. I'm going to store up as much copper as I can, so that not am I going to I'm not going to load up my whole A. I'm going to have enough stuff to load up my whole C and take a whole load of copper over there and sell it, right? That's going to be the other purpose of those cargo decks, to be able to take that refined material and put it on hold till you're ready to really sell it, instead of doing all this running like we do right now, you know, these little small runs, you know. So hopefully that'll be one of the things we see come out of the cargo decks. All right.
Yeah. Another thing I really see as, correct me if I'm wrong, I would really see this ship being a right alongside the Pioneer, because the Pioneer take raw material? And
we don't know if it takes raw material. We just know it takes some type of material. Yeah. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Pops, more than likely it won't be raw. It'll more than likely be refined, because that creates a game loop, right? So when you go out and get the iron or whatever it is, right, you're going to refine it. And then, like you said, you're going to bring that thing to where that Pioneer is operating, because it's going to need those resources, right?
Need it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a very good point. Somebody gave us bits. BBG, thank you. Oh, 500 bits. Woo, thank you. Thank you, BBG. Thank you. Yeah, no, that's a good point, Pops. Absolutely. Because we didn't even think about like bringing resources and transport. We've thought about it from the sense of selling it. But then there is that aspect, or maybe you just need it at your particular, you know, home base, right? You need some type of material, right? We talked about those materials also being sold to repair ships. There's a whole lot of other stuff. Sell it to Fast Cart with his Endeavor, right? He'll need some stuff over there, right? Okay. Yeah. All right. Last but not least, Fist, why don't you read that off for us? The TDD.
Yes, sir. Trade and Development Division. TDD. The Trade and Development Division, otherwise known as TDD, is a marketplace located in major planetary landing zones where information determining the supply and sense of demand of various commodities is shown for a given location.
Okay, all right. And most of us are familiar with the TDD. I remember back in the day when the TDD popped up in the game, when ArcCorp was Area 18 was a module, and we had this place called the TDD, had the nice wooden floors, the glass railings, and all this other stuff. And,
all of it.
And we couldn't do nothing, right, Cal Roddy?
Just stare at it.
Just stare at it.
And imagine.
Try to break through the wall and go to the little office and stuff like that. There was nothing to do, right? Now, the TDD has been implemented and does have the function of that's where we go and do our trading and our selling. But there's something else that happens in the TDD that we haven't seen implemented yet. We have seen it implemented in our mobiGlas. where we get basically the ticker that tells you what the value is of things, resources that are being sold in the verse. But ultimately, the TDD will be trade and development. That will be, some of you guys, when you go to not Microtech, Hurston's got an amazing in their business district.
Yeah.
That's like the New York Stock Exchange. I mean, it's just all the stuff is up there, and you've got the prices and all that stuff. That stuff's going to be happening in real time in the game. Have you guys thought about how you will keep track of the price of stuff in other places that maybe you don't have access to? Will you have somebody 10 systems away who's telling you what's hot and what's not?
One thing about this game, though, I will say this, is definitely two things. Number one, having friends, like you just said. Yes. Number two, having this community come up with websites that tell you or give you information. Not saying that there sometimes might be real time, but like Galog, I believe it is. Yeah. That it's very helpful.
Okay.
You know.
Now let me ask you a question. That's the reason why I didn't go that way.
Okay. And I can understand.
How immersive will your immersion be? That was my question. Because are you stepping out of the immersion to go to a website on the internet to find out? Or are you going to say, hey, you might tell me, Griff, I'm going to be over in, I'm going to be over in Nick's this afternoon. And I say, hey, man, when you get over there, let me know what gold is going for. I mean, that's immersion right there. Or am I going to go, online?
It is.
I'm not throwing no rocks at doing it. Don't get me wrong.
No,
I go to
agree with you
Galog to
saying.
find out what prices are to save myself some trade time. I'm just curious as to what will be the workaround for that, because they're putting all that stuff up there for us. They're putting those tickers up there. They're putting those facilities in there. If everybody's just going to go to the internet and pull their information up. Now, mind you, like you said, Fist, it may be more accurate in real time in game, because you got to, I don't know if they're going to create, IPs and stuff that allow people to have. Is that stuff like that accurate on those sites? Is it like if they change it in the game, does it change like that, or is it like a period of time? Does anybody know?
It's
in chat.
I think it's accurate, but I want to, every time I've gone into the TDD, you know what it reminds me of, and this is one of my favorite movies. Maybe everybody else probably remember this. Dan Aykroyd and not Charlie Murphy, Eddie Places. And you know the scene towards the end when they're screaming and yelling on the floor, and they're sell, and buy. I'm waiting to see that happen. And things like that running around. That I think that would be a cool immersion.
Yeah. Let's see. Inara in ED gives you sale prices from all stations within an hour. Okay, thanks, Kai. All right, within an hour. Okay, so they're not bad as far as time, stuff goes. I don't know if you're going to lose a lot of time in the market when it does that. Galog is accurate. Yeah, I know they're accurate, guys. I'm referring to when the market changes. What's the time frame are we looking at in the sense of, is it literally like right then, or do you wait 15 minutes, 30 minutes? I'm just kind of curious because I've never really tried to compare the times in real time. Okay, done through bots. Okay, AGI pulling. Okay, got you. Yeah, Duke and Duke Rogue. Yeah, that's what Pop's talking about. Yeah,
there you go.
A matter of an hour or less. Okay, DK, thank you. Sometimes about 15 minutes. Okay, so that's something to know about. So all of these different tools now, we're starting to see them start to come together, right? Refining's coming in. We've got a way to transport stuff, moving stuff around. The TDD and that real-time information is going to be the next thing that we'd like to see kick in. It's great to be able to go and sell, but we do also want to be able to get valuable information. Have you guys noticed that they've got those conference rooms and stuff down there?
Yes.
Yeah,
what is that
I think
about?
I could jump through and make it down there. I think I kind of bugged through there, or I don't know if it's like, I just jumped over.
You didn't kill yourself jumping down there?
No, I was alive, but I couldn't escape though.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm curious because they've got those like VIP rooms and stuff like that. Are they just decoration, or is there serving some purpose when you go in and strike a deal? I don't know. I'm curious. Maybe there'll be mission givers in there, right? Somebody that you go sell to specifically that pops up when a mission comes up and says this needs to be sold, right?
Right.
And it tells you to go to the TDD in Microtech, and you go down there, and there's a person in that room that you got to strike that deal with, versus going to the terminal, right? Maybe that mission giver there is who you got to go to. You know, we'll see. We'll see what CIG comes up with. All right. All righty. Well, that's it, fellas. We made it through all those pages of information. A lot of stuff there that we covered today. I hope that you guys did see some stuff that helped you a little bit with learning a little more about doing mining and refining, the direction that the game is going, being able to transport those materials, selling those materials, trading those materials. There's a lot of stuff there that we covered today, but hopefully you learned something. I learned something. I forgot about that doggone filter passive that I'm going to start buying so I can quit dodging inert material. I know that. But anyway, I hope you guys did pick up something today. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah, we got a couple questions that we got to hit. Did you want to say something, Pops?
No, I was just reminding guys his questions and
he's excited for the questions.
Oh, he's excited for the questions. Okay. All right. We do have a question here. This comes from Alex the Droog. Alex says, have you done a talk show on peripherals? Yes, we have. It was over a year ago. It was January of 2021. We kicked off our first month talking about all the different cool peripherals that you could use in Star Citizen. Joysticks, foot pedals, mice, all that stuff. The Dolby, what's it called? The
Toby.
It's not the Gobi. What's it called?
Toby.
The Toby. I'm calling it the Gobi. We talked about all that stuff. So yeah, if you go back on our shows, you'll see a show there that talks about using peripherals and stuff. So thanks, Alex, for that question. Got a question from Black Sky Legion. As the awesome Soul Citizens music creators, New Soul, Fist and Pops are music connoisseurs. Let me ask, what music do all the cast love to jam to while you're mining in the verse? What do you listen to? Are you listening to anything?
Well, actually, I asked the question when we were in the virtual bar citizens, and speaking of virtual bar citizens,
wait, we'll plug that later.
Okay,
we'll plug that later.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I asked that question if they could do something for the community, because there's a lot of talented people. There's a lot of people that want to contribute music to the game so that we all can, have it to listen. They have the jukebox, so, and that we could donate royalty-free music.
Yeah. But Pops, the question is, what do you listen to? What do you listen to?
Well,
Pops said he listened to the laser. He ain't listening to nothing.
I tell you what I listen to. I'll listen to. Usually on my Spotify playlist, I'll have some Snarky Puppy.
Okay.
I'll have a gentleman, a composer by the name of Ludwig. I'm gonna butcher his last name, Garrison, something like that.
Okay.
I'll listen to him. I may listen to some Nate Smith.
Okay.
Some a plethora of jazz, R&B,
you mix it up a little
like
bit. Okay.
Yeah.
Kel Roddy, what are you listening to?
I listen to a bunch of different genres. So these days I've been listening to some Tones and I love Dance Monkey, so I love that song. Okay. A bunch. I've also been listening to this goofy song called from Nathan Evans. There once was a ship that put to sea. I'm listening to that, while I currently have a crime stat level 5, and I'm trading with my hull A between these space stations on my moon. So I'm just listening to that song on repeat. I'm killing it, and I just listen to a bunch of just random songs when I'm doing all these goofy things in the verse. So it's between that and a bunch of different really fun songs.
Okay. Now, Pops, are you listening to what Fist is listening to, or are you listening to something different than him?
I don't listen.
No music? That's fine if you don't.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm too busy trying to not run in.
You listen to the music of the mining laser, and that's fine.
He's listening to money generator.
These cats out here blowing themselves up listening to music. You listening to that money, that ching-ching. So there ain't nothing wrong with that, Pops. Don't worry about it, all right? And I hate to say it, Pops, I'm in your category. I maybe every once in a blue moon, I'll put on something. I might put on something, but whatever it is, it's something without words. Whatever it is, I'm listening to, because I can get distracted with words. So
yeah, because see, I'll start bop into the
and be all out of that,
run into the
and
station.
blow up just like these two guys will do, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, see, hold on for a second, Griff. You got to remember though, when we're mining, let's put it this way: we're mining. I'm in the pilot.
Oh, you
seat.
piloting? Okay, so that you got the luxury to do that. He's okay. He's the one working the laser. All right.
So he better not be listening to anything. If we blow up, you know.
Yeah,
I need 100% concentration.
I understand. Okay, we've got one more question. This is from Bunsen. What is your guess on the medium-sized unannounced ship, and what do you think the last teaser was? The email from 2 weeks ago. Doing this for fast cart only. I don't know what the heck. Oh, well, from 2 weeks ago.
Wait, what's the question?
What was the teaser from? He means the sneak peek from 2 weeks ago. I
2 weeks ago.
No idea. It was the bolt gun. The bolt gun the other day or last week or week before. I don't know what the thing was from before that. Oh, we figured that was the Corsair. We finally figured it out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we finally figured out that was the Corsair. We weren't sure at first, but it's the thing in the back, the other turret. It's not the one in the front. Because we kept seeing it was on some type of swivel, but we couldn't figure out what the heck it was. When we figured out that it was the Corsair. So that's a good question. Medium unannounced ship. Yeah, I know. Buns, we thought it was Argo too. We swore it was Argo, absolutely.
Same.
But then we went back and looked at the SRV and saw the SRV has a square front. And then we went back and looked at the Corsair and found out the windows on that other turret has the same kind of weird design. So that's how we figured it out. Yeah. Yeah, that was that. What was I gonna ask you guys? I was asking you something.
The unannounced medium.
Yeah, the unannounced medium ship. I don't even want to try on the unannounced stuff because these jokers have been the last few ships they've been pulling out that we didn't expect what the heck it was. You know?
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean,
I haven't said it though.
Well, we know about a lot of ships, right? I mean, we know the whole seas out there. We know they talked about the doggone what's the medvac ship, the RSI. What's that thing called?
The Apollo.
We know about the Apollo. So it's not unannounced. We know about the Apollo. We know about the Hull C. We know about the Corsair. We know that they're working on the Vulture. We know 600. I mean, there's a lot of ships they've told us about. So unannounced and what category? Like I've been trying to figure out what career are they trying to fill. You know, are they trying to fill something in the middle of something or something brand new? Difficult question. But we'll find out. We're only a few weeks away, right? Between CitizenCon and IAE. Throw your wallets away. Get rid of your credit cards. That's all I can tell you. Brace yourselves, okay? We got one more question from Black Sky Legion. If there's anything in the area of mining and refining that the cast would like to see, what would it be? Maybe an alien miner or some new twist on cargo and refining? Go to Pops first on that one. Pops, is there anything with mining that you would like to see added or changed? Or are you pretty happy with where they are?
Let me tell Kai something. Anything with a Banu on it, that's me.
All right. So some type of Banu mining related ship for Pops. Cal Roddy.
I would like to see them, build on the whole crafting to utilize those materials some more. So they've given us that kind of teaser and everything. So I'd really love to see them build on that to kind of strengthen that whole reusability with regards to those materials that they mine and refine a whole lot more. So if it's, for example, a ship that can, I don't know, craft some kind of it doesn't have to be armor, it doesn't have to be a weapon, but something that we can actually utilize in the verse that we may need. If it's like, I don't know, persistence is coming online, so maybe for 4.0 we can craft like a bed of some sort, so that we can, some kind of camper bed that we can use and camp in a cave or something like that. Some kind of utility that we can craft, or some kind of utilities that we can craft and reuse in the game for the long distance exploration, something like that to build on, that crafting aspect.
Yeah. Okay. Fist?
To me, what I am looking forward to in mining, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Just bring on my ugly Betty. I'm Orion. That's all I care about.
You're Orion. You ready for your Orion? Okay. I think for me, I want them to come in with this whole thing about what we're doing with refining, what we're smelting stuff into. You know, what if I'm taking this material, and combining it to make something else of higher value, or for production, like Pops was talking about. You know, I want to know that all those things that people don't pay attention to right now, that if I go out and get some copper, some quartz, and this, and put them together, I create this, which is now has greater value, gives me greater purpose to go out and mine those things. I don't have to be just relying on Quantanium to do what it is I want to do financially, and to be able to take those resources and then give them, like you said, Calrati, to some form of crafting or selling or whatever the case may be. So that's what I'm looking for, is that next level of being able to do something with those resources once they're refined. I would love to see that. Okay. All righty. So listen, we're going to move on here. First thing we want to do is remind you guys to check us out. You check out there, look at Calrati. I didn't even have to run this. Calrati's got it on right there. But if you guys want to support us, you can check out our Soul Citizens merchandise. We got plenty of fun things out there, keychains, all types of cool stuff that you guys can support us that way. Want to say special thank you to everybody who came out today. Those of us who dropped raids. I can't even remember everybody who raided us tonight, but thank you guys so much. Those of you who came and hung out with us, really appreciate that. Thank you for those of you who are on YouTube watching this tonight. We're still trying to grow that YouTube side of us. And those of you who are here in Twitch, we appreciate you all being here today. Let's cover a few things here real quick about what's going on. Calrati, I'm bouncing between me and you. I ain't gonna put this on our guests. Tell everybody about what goes on Thursday. All right, on Thursday we got Soul Talk 9 p.m. ET or Eastern Time, where we talk about Inside Star Citizen, where we react to a bunch of different things that's happened throughout the whole week. SCL, the lore, sneak peeks, anything. We also react to Machinima, everything, and come in. Anyone who wants to, talk and hang out with the fam, we're all welcome. So that's happening on Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Absolutely. That's the dinner time show, right? We do that in the evening. Dinner time. Sit around the round table. On Saturdays at 3 o'clock, we have our one-on-one show, Soul Voices, where you get to come in and talk with us one-on-one. You get to come into the Discord. We have various topics from Spectrum, from Reddit, from the gaming industry. You get to talk about what you think about those subjects. Last week, we talked about where the heck is Chris Roberts at CitizenCon. So if you got some ideas and things you want to say, that's our show to come in and talk with us one-on-one. And then I got to say this one, y'all. I reserve this for myself. Next Sunday, the ultimate shipyard show will be on next Sunday. About the ugliest manufacturer. I'm just joking with it. Right. It's a good thing you didn't let me say it. Right, I was prepared. All right, you're ready, huh? All right. Next Sunday, we will be our show for Shipyard. We will be covering another manufacturer. It'll be Origin Jump Works next week. So those of you who are interested in Origin ships, if you own Origin ships, if you hate Origin ships, you be sure to come here and join us next week. We're going to talk about that manufacturer. We are going to be fired up and ready to go when it comes to that particular show. I do want to remind you guys also on Saturday, which I completely forget about, Podset Saturday, once after we get through with Soul Voices, we send you over to go visit Paul Shelley and the folks over at the Captain's Table at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Paul sends you from there over to the guys at Relay at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So Saturdays, afternoons, and evenings are full of nothing but Star Citizen information. So you guys be sure to check that out. We want to say a special thanks to Fist to Face and Pops in Space. You guys know them better as New Soul. They are the people who produce our themes for all of our shows, and they always do a great job. So we want to say a special thanks to both of them to being our special guests tonight. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. Tell people where people can find you. Give the plug real quick. Where can people find you guys? Oh, wow. Well, you can find us on Twitter at New Soul Sounds. We do have an Instagram, same name, New Soul Sounds. We do have a Discord. Hit us up on Discord. My name, Fist to Face, hashtag 8415. So, if you want to invite or chit chat, whatever. And you can always catch us here on Soul Citizens on the shows. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys. And Calrati, as always, thank you. Appreciate you always. We'll be seeing Calrati. Calrati, you be joining me. Is it this Sunday you joining me? This Saturday or next Saturday? Which one is it? This Saturday. This Saturday? Yeah. Okay. So Calrati will be with me on Voices this week. So we'll be tearing it up, having a good time. And the Player Haters will be there this Saturday. So we haven't seen the Player Haters in a little while. They'll be there this Saturday. So you guys make sure you come and check us out. We'll have a good time. And we're going to let the Player Haters talk with you guys. What is he doing on camera? So I know. Yeah, we'll get them going. All right. We are going to get ready to send you guys over to a good friend of ours, the good friend that you all know, Star Jump Grim. Star Jump Grim is on
beautiful
tonight. So when you guys get over and see Grim, y'all know Grim with that Fleet Viewer, y'all, the folks over there at Star
give
Jump.
him a special
Y'all
thanks.
give them some thanks when you get over there. Give them some love. Let them know you came from the Soul Citizens. And of course, if you like what you see, you guys follow them. Hopefully, we'll see you guys this week. Thank you again for tuning in tonight. Don't forget to mine safely. Peace, love, and soul. We'll see you guys real soon. Have a great week.
See you, people.
See ya.